Hey, good morning, listeners.
Good morning, Ammar.
Jack, you're looking fresh, Dougie Fresh, and the Get Fresh crew. You remember him?
Dougie Fresh?
Yeah.
I can't say I do, to be honest.
You can't remember Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew? Hey, you, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Make a break, make a move. Everybody's anyway. You don't remember that? You were a body pop.
If I see them, I'll recognize them. And if someone sang the song properly, then I probably would have recognized it as well.
What does that mean? If someone sang the song properly, are you sort of suggesting that?
I think I needed to hear the B lines and all of those things a little bit more.
Hey, you, what you gonna do? Hey, you're gonna do? Make a break, make a move.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about the situation. You remember that?
No, it does. Oh God, why have I done it? Yeah, it does. It does.
No, how much more authentic you can get than that? That was like him here, reincarnated.
Well, kind of quite close.
Yeah. Anyway, good morning, listeners, viewers, people all over the world. I'll tell you what you'd love to come to, and what you need to come to is this innovation ignition. You know how we talk about all of these business models and approaches and methodologies and everything else. You know, what are the most successful things every organization uses? Well, there's a lunch time between 12 and 1 on the 14th. Like, tune in, like, amazing talk. You know, as in, it's going to be sort of revolutionary, transformative.
Where's the place? Where is it held?
It's online. It's online. So okay. It's a huge big deal. So I would get, you know, yourself, any of your sort of management team, anybody else that you think is going to get value from, you know, sort of just being introduced to these principles first and foremost. People will come away with some top tips, but it'll be like, you know, as in the most inspirational innovation ignition for all business owners and organization owners. Be amazing. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Let me get my slides and let's get the show on the road. How are you doing, Jalf? Are you all right?
Yeah, good, Ammar. Just the usual things in business. Just trying to plan ahead, really. Energy. I read this article yesterday on a Twitter feed, and it was just a guy, and he said that, look, I have a small pub, and my rent is, I mean, it must be quite a decent sized pub, though his rent was 70,000, and his utility bills a year is £60,000.
What? Say that again.
His utility bills had gone up from 30 to £60,000 a year.
Yeah. Well, I told you that one about £1 million. There was a manufacturing plant that had gone up from a few £100,000 to £1 million.
I mean, I think it's outrageous. I mean, what is when everyone's new contracts start to kick in, I think it's going to be just unbelievable. You know, I think it's going to be. I think the utility bills. It's going to what's going to break a lot of businesses, and that's unforeseen. It's never ever been kind of something that you worry about. I mean, they've always been high, the utility bills, in my opinion. Because when I was getting the bills, I was like, oh my God, you know, electric bill, 1,400 quid a month, 1,500 quid a month. I'm going back a few years. And I was always horrified at that. And now they're £3,000 a month. I mean, like, you're talking £3,000 and £3,000, you're talking £6,000 a month for utility bills, which is standard for any decent size restaurant. And I think that's a huge, it's bigger than the rents. You know, it's a huge expense. And
well, it's interesting, but you know, the fact that, I'll tell you the other challenges, right? A lot of leases and rents and things like that are tagged with the consumer price index. So rent increases, right? They're tagged with consumer price index. It's 10%.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's a matter of, are the landlords going to meticulously say that, yeah, you are linked to the consumer price index, we're just going to put your rents up accordingly? Because, I mean, if they're not prepared to sit down and understand the current climate, then I think a lot of businesses are going to fold. I think this crisis that we're in at the moment, and we'll just quickly touch up on that before you start talking about topic of the week. I think it's far bigger than I didn't envisage a crisis where it's not a lockdown, but it's bigger than the lockdown crisis.
Mad, isn't it?
So the crisis that the world and the businesses are facing today, for me, it's far bigger than what it was when businesses were asked to just shut down and there's no one on the streets, because the cost is so horrific. I think I guess the better operators and those that are financially in better positions will probably be able to ride the storm out a little bit better. But I think the issue is going to be when the supply chain is affected and you can't get a hold of wheat and oil. I mean, if there's no wheat and oil, Ammar.
If there's no what?
If there's no wheat, if you can't get a hold of any wheat, and you can't get a hold of any oils, I mean, how many restaurants are going to still be open? Because if you imagine, if you have a pizza restaurant, you can't have any pizzas. I mean, an Indian restaurant, I guess you can't have any breads, but then any oil. I mean, oil literally is going to go into most items. You need oil to cook most of the things in some capacity. It can be good oils, such as olive oils, and a sprinkle of this and a sprinkle of that. So when that goes, if it does go, or the prices are so ridiculous that it becomes unfeasible, that's going to be a very, very interesting position, because hospitality, any kind of hospitality, any kind of food, whilst in a lockdown, hospitality takers were thriving because there was obviously the need for people to eat. You could go out and you were allowed to open to obviously cater for people's needs. But if you imagine you can't get oils and wheat, then what would happen to businesses?
Well, I think, look, you're absolutely right in your observation that this crisis, and this is why the government sort of semi-reacted yesterday, but this crisis, there's this stagnation of inflation, but no growth associated with it, right? So everyone's businesses are stagnated. They're not growing at all. Inflation continues, regardless of what you do with interest rates or any monetary policies. There's simply nothing that you can do that will then prevent a cliff edge scenario, so that businesses and individuals hit the wall, huge recession, bigger than we've ever experienced, because of the fact that the economy has already been propped up over the last couple of years with all of the state aid introduced, right? So it's almost like there's no such thing as a perfect storm. This is a hurricane. This is a typhoon. This is Armageddon. Not that I'm trying to frighten anyone.
No, it's probably going to be worse than the likes of the Great Depressions and things like that. I think that, if you want to be kind of any kind of a business leader, I have people enthusiastically calling me up and saying, "Oh, would you like to commit to a 12 months advertising campaign?" And we generally don't, but I can think to myself, God, yeah, I appreciate that you need to get on with your job, but we've got kind of a different dynamic. We're thinking of it in a very, very different way, because we're thinking of contingencies as a constant. What contingencies can we have in place? If this happens, if that happens, if this happens, we need to really make sure that we've got enough funds in the kitty to see us through some difficult moments ahead, very, very difficult moments ahead, where things may get very challenging. So we want to just make sure that financially we're very prudent and very diligent and moving forward, looking after every single penny to hopefully see us through a potential 6 months of hell that could possibly be ahead. And that's just my general observations. It's not, I haven't talked or look this up anywhere else. It's just my gut instincts that at this moment in time, you know, you've got to really be careful how you do conduct your business. And a gung-ho approach is probably not the right way to go at this moment in time.
I think everybody needs to just think about what they're spending.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the bottom line. Everybody, not just businesses, everybody everywhere needs to genuinely start thinking about, do I need to spend this money?
Mm-hmm.
Is what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm
Anyway,
just very, very quickly, the only solution that I can see, and I don't think this can be a solution, the solution is the world diplomats getting together and sitting and ending the war in Ukraine and finding ways to do that. But I just can't see how that can happen, because the views of the West and the East and Asia and Eurasia is just so different. I think there's like a big separation in those two kind of continents in many ways. If you say Eurasia, which is a combination of Russia and China and all the BRICS nations, they seem to be building a lot of momentum in working together as future partners. But at the end of the day, regardless of what political nuances there are, Russia could have been a vital part of Europe because of the assets and resources that they have, which we could have benefited from as a continent. But because of political disagreements or political differences, they're just not looking at Russia in that way. And I think that's just going to make our lives a lot harder in the whole of Europe, because look at the energy costs that are going up. So if you need some serious diplomacy between the governments, where they should be thinking about us, the public, every single one of us, and how it's having such a negative impact on our everyday lives. And that should be what the powers that be have been to put into power, to think about the people. And I don't know if that's really happening or not. So you know, that's the only solution. And if it doesn't look as though there's going to be a solution in that regard, which means that we have to get prepared for prepare ourselves really on how we can move forward and deal with what's going to be coming our way in the next 6 months to a year.
I think it's really challenging. You know, it's very challenging. I think part of the problem now is where Ukraine and Russia and such like are concerned is there's almost a deadlock, right? Because Russia has sort of said to Ukraine, as allegedly, and as I understand it, has sort of said, we are happy to keep the land that we've got. That was the region that had the most people who wanted to be part of Russia, and that's that now. Let's just agree. Let's just, you know, recreate that lines. And now Ukraine's going no, even though a significant amount of the people that were living there and do live there allegedly wanted to always be part of and felt more Russian than they did European.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that eastern region of Ukraine, the Donbass and the Donetsk region, along with Crimea, which is in the south, I think they've gone and gone after those regions because they're Russian speaking, but they have been under attack as well since 2014. So yeah, I think Russia is obviously not going to let go of that particular eastern Ukraine, and it's a matter of that's going to be part of the diplomatic discussions, that they'll never let it go. And it's a whether if the Ukrainians have got the appetite, well, not so much the Ukrainians, whether the Ukrainians and the Americans have got the appetite to allow that to happen, which they probably won't have. So they're probably, like you said, there'll be a deadlock, and I don't think the diplomats in the world are going to be able to kind of unlock that deadlock, meaning that we're all going to kind of suffer.
It's yeah, it's very, very challenging, isn't it? Is what it is, and don't know what to. It's dead easy for us to make suggestions, but don't know how they translate. Jalf, Dan and Ben are going to join us in about 15 minutes or so, and I'll have to disappear, but because I need to go and go somewhere.
Excellent, busy man.
Hello, I'm winding down a little bit. Anyway, let's get the show. We haven't started the show officially, so let's just do that. Can you say that?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good morning, listeners and viewers. You're listening to Ammar and
Jalf,
live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice FM.
Each week we bring you news, views, and 1 or 2 clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, and not just corner shops. Whether you're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
We can't help. We can't help, and we do help. Headlines this week. Sadly, Texas shooting, 19 children among dead in primary school attack. That's just horrific, isn't it? It's just wrong.
I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable how that's continuing, and it's just so baffling that no president has ever been able to get rid of the guns in America. And it just means, look at how all the laws have been created in the first instance, maybe so that they can never be solved. And then you have these type of scenarios and they still can't do anything about it, which is just, I'm just baffled how that just continues to have those laws in place. Anyone can go and buy a gun. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's disgusting. It's shocking. But I mean, I suppose it's part of the Constitution, is what it is.
Can you imagine, Ammar, that you're 18 years old, you can go and buy a gun, and you have a bad day, literally where you have a bad day, and you just think that anyone that crosses. I've been in situations where, I was walking down the road and someone must have had an awful day, and I just happened to be walking past the road, and he just threw me off the curb because I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, if you imagine that someone's like mentally a bit unstable, but he's got access to guns, and he has
see, I must admit, I don't think it's as simple. It's quite a complex conversation because equally, you could be in a car, right? You could literally, drive yourself into crowds. You could literally, there's a whole host of ways and means of sort of damaging or hurting people. I don't believe it's simply a case of
yeah, but being allowed to buy a gun, though, it's like it shouldn't be.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I'm just highlighting that people have bad days and do terrible things. I don't think anybody in whatever weapon they have, regardless of or whatever they decide to weaponize, is disgusting. It's just so sad that these were such young, innocent children. That's what makes it even worse. I mean, regardless of whoever it was that was killed, it would be horrific. But yeah, it's just terrible, terrible. 1 in 5 employees expect to change jobs this year, Jalf.
Okay, good luck to them.
Work starts on a £100 million project to increase frequency of metros ahead of major line closure.
So what's Ammar there?
Metros.
Metros in Newcastle.
Yeah, they're going to close the line for a bit whilst they upgrade it.
Everything, all the lines.
No, not all of them.
Section.
Not all of them. I think it's south of the river. I think I haven't got the exact details.
Okay.
But the point being is it's going to cause some level of disruption. And shockingly, absolutely shocking, Jalf. But Manchester City, what was all that about?
Well, look, I think Liverpool have had the 2 trophies in their belt, and look, it was an unbelievable finale to the Premier League. Unbelievable.
Wasn't it just that, like, space of space of 15 minutes, Jalf.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it was, Yusuf was jumping with joy up and down. It was just like, oh my God, come on,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
It was two on that side and this on that side. And then all of
yeah.
a sudden it was like,
I mean, the Premier League is just the best league in the world. And, it was such an amazing finale. But look, hats off to Man City. I think, they deserve to win it because they were a point ahead. But like Pep Guardiola said, Liverpool were just one of the toughest competitive teams that he's ever faced in his career. So, and they pushed them all the way. So brilliant to Liverpool for really taking them to the last final few minutes of the game. But obviously there's something else for Yusuf to look forward to tomorrow with the Champions League final against Real Madrid, which is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, and he is. We were talking about it this morning.
Yeah.
He's even got his yellow Liverpool kit, is what he has. When do the new kits come out, Jeff?
I think the Liverpool ones are out because they're like an organised football club. I think Newcastle ones, they haven't got them out yet, but I think they've got the designs. But I think what's happening is with Newcastle, because they want to get a new sponsor, and the Premier League is the Premier League, they probably want to ratify this new sponsorship. So hence Newcastle aren't able to release their new kits. But I think they've shown what the designs are going to be, but the sponsor hasn't been quite finalized yet. So,
yeah, but as in, just because it's Saudi Golf, as in, what's wrong with that?
Sorry, say that again,
Saudi Golf. Saudi Golf?
Well, they haven't confirmed it's going to be Saudi Golf, Ammar, yet. I think it's going to be, but basically the issue is that if Saudi Golf turn around and say that we've got lots of money, we want to pay like £100 million or £50 million a year for the sponsor, or it's going to be a 10-year sponsorship deal, and it's going to be 55, 60 million pounds a year, 100 million pounds a year, then the Premier League are going to turn around and say, well, you've just inflated that sponsorship price because it's one of your own companies, and it's not the genuine price. So I mean, Man City and everyone's done it all this time, but because it's Newcastle United, I think that the takeover took such a long time to do. So, for example, you've got Leicester. Their stadium is called King Power. Who owns King Power? The Leicester owners own King Power. And how much money are they sponsoring them? The key thing is, Ammar, to just understand the economics of it. You can only make, I think it's about £100 million loss a year.
Yeah.
So what the Man City's and Liverpool's and the PSG's of the world, they are obviously showing the earnings to be huge because of sponsorship deals. Yeah. And that is the biggest part of the earnings, along with the Premier League money. So they're kind of able to show £500 million worth of sales every single year, which means that they can have like X amount of players paying big money, and the losses are not like less than £100 million loss, or there might be 50 million quid loss, or there might be a profit of 5 million or whatever it is that they show. In Newcastle, because of financial fair play, we need critical is these sponsorship deals for us to be able to show that our revenues are a lot higher, meaning that we can have a bigger spend on players and pay bigger salaries. So I think the ratification of I would have thought they would have a series of sponsorship deals on the table that the Premier League are looking through at this moment in time. So that's where we are with Newcastle and the shirts. That's what I feel. Then the key development at Newcastle United is lining up this director of football, who's like a very, very big name in the footballing world. He was responsible for the resurgence of England. He's called Dan Ashworth. He was at West Brom when they were really, really good. Previously, he was at Brighton, and he made Brighton who they are. Brighton are kind of in 8th position at the moment for such a small club. He's more or less kind of, everyone knows that he's about to join, but they've got some compensation issues that they're trying to resolve with Brighton, because his contract, his notice period on that must have been 9 months or something. So for 9 months, you can't get another job, but that takes them to November. So they're trying to come up with a compensation solution with Brighton. They want 5 million compensation for taking their man, and I think we're prepared to pay them 1 or 2. And I think they're at loggerheads there, and that's why we're not able to announce.
Everyone's just having a bit of a laugh, aren't they?
Yeah, but going back to the Premier League, going back to Liverpool and Man City, phenomenal teams. They've set the benchmark. But I think hopefully, I think next season is going to be just the most exciting season ever, because I think that there are teams below the big 6 who are really, really going to push them, and they might break that cartel of those top teams. And I think that's going to be really good, because you don't want no one to kind of, unless you support that team, right, to dominate the Premier League for forever.
No.
So I think
we need some excitement, some change, some disruption.
I think Newcastle are going to create a bit of that. Aston Villa, who have signed the former Liverpool player Coutinho, and they've signed 2 more really big players before the transfer windows open that they announced yesterday. So I think they're going to come really, really strong. Obviously, Everton have had a terrible season. They might become better. Tottenham, they've got Antonio Conte. So there's a lot of people, a lot of teams that are going to spend big money. So it'll be very, very interesting again. And it's World Cup year as well, Ammar.
It's what?
It's World Cup year. The Qatar World Cup.
Yeah.
December.
I was trying to work out what you were. Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. Anyway, let's move on swiftly, because Dan and Ben will be joining us in a second. And any event, business topic of the week. This week is environment mapping, Jalf. So traditionally, every business looks inwardly, right? And even more so now, given the challenges that we're all experiencing. But environment mapping is when designing your business model or redesigning your business model, it's important to also look at the environment in which business will operate. There are 4 main areas to consider: market forces, industry forces, key trends, and macroeconomic forces. Market forces should take into account the opportunities and challenges of your market. For example, is this a saturated or emerging market? It is also important to look at the main customer segments and which segment has the biggest growth potential. You can also look at switching costs and revenue attractiveness, as well as any market-specific issues that can be exploited or that you need to be aware of. Industry forces looks at your competitors and stakeholders. You should think about established competitors and the strengths and weaknesses of their business models, and then do the same for emerging competitors. It is also a good idea to consider key stakeholders and suppliers and how they could influence your business. Key trends looks at broader societal trends that you could take advantage of or be aware of. Think about technological trends, regulatory trends, social economic trends, and societal and cultural trends. Do the trends identify, represent a threat or an opportunity? And then the final one is macroeconomic forces, looks at the large scale general economic factors that could affect your business. Think about inflation rates, the ease of obtaining funding, supply chains and resource availability, and whether the economy is growing or not. Among the top reasons for business failure, Jalf, are product services that the market doesn't need, lack of liquidity, and more successful competitors. Completing an environmental map could help you get ahead of these risks. And you can find out more by contacting the SME Centre of Excellence and actually coming along to the Innovation Ignition event on the 14th of June, which we'll be sharing with everybody very soon. So, Jalf, environmental scanning, it's really important, isn't it?
I think all of those things that you've mentioned, I wasn't really aware of. So I think it's really, really, you know it, but you don't know the structure that you've gone through, which is really important.
Yeah, so it's a quadrant. It's literally 4 squares, right?
Yeah.
So you look at, and just to remind everybody, right? The 4 squares, market forces, right? So opportunities and challenges in the market. Industry forces are, sort of trends and things like that, which affect the industry as a whole. So stakeholders, suppliers, things like that. And then trends, what type of things are changing. So if you look at Netflix, gosh, think about Netflix. Started off posting out DVDs. They never got the DVDs back. People wouldn't send them back and things like that. As in, it was like they moved online. And as soon as they moved online, it was like revolutionary. And they changed the market. But had they not done the environmental scanning, and had they not looked at trends and adjusted their business model, they would have never have got to where they are. So environment mapping, and you can learn more about this, as I say, through the SME, and we'll share lots of resources. Jalf, it's Platinum Jubilee. What are you going to do?
Have a street party, Ammar, with all the neighbours. We've paid like £10 per household. Lock down the streets, and there's going to be a big rave.
Yeah, I love it. Excellent. Good. Well done. All right, Dan, are you there? Ben, are you there?
We are, yes. We are here.
Come on in. Come on. You done a hokey cokey, didn't you?
A little bit, yeah. Just get warmed up.
All right. Cool. I'm going to disappear. So, are we lacking space for you to be in separate space? Is that the situation?
I think we're both tied to a desktop, Ammar.
All right.
I could log in on my phone.
I just think it's because there's an echo because you both got your mics on, and understandably so, or whatever that is. So it might be beneficial if that's all right.
Cool. See you in a bit.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to hand over to Ben, and I'm going to disappear. Jalf, talk to Ben and Dan.
Ben, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How's yourself, Jalf?
Yes, good, Ben.
Sorry, I don't have the video on today. I've been struggling to get the blur on my background.
As long as we can hear you, that's the most important thing.
Perfect. So once Dan gets tuned back in, we're just going to have a run through what we've been doing at the SME Centre of Excellence, touching on some of the website work that we've been developing, and also some of the social media stuff. Because what it is that we've been doing is we've been developing these packages which align to more of the smaller players in the business space. So, I mean, if you look at marketing now from an agency point of view, a lot of the agencies and the offering that they've developed is tailored towards some of the bigger players, some of the bigger businesses that exist, because they are the ones that have the budget for it. Okay. So we've developed a solution which hopefully addresses a pain point for the smaller players that I mentioned, so that they can essentially be running the social media and have a website set up where it's not really sort of interfering with their day-to-day business operations. Dan, are you back with us now?
I'm back here.
Perfect.
I'm just going to move locations.
Dan, would you be able to just give us a bit of a background on the SME Centre of Excellence as a whole and the overall offering that we do?
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think what to do is get a website on your screen if that's a possibility, and then we can run through things. But just to give you the background on the SME, so we provide easily accessible business support tailored to your needs, delivered at a time that suits you. Whether you're starting a business or want to grow your existing business, we can help you. Really, our vision with the SME is to help, would aim to be the leading support mechanism for small to medium-sized enterprises in the region. We offer a truly collaborative and ethical approach that will provide a one-stop, high-quality centre of excellence for all support needs, helping SMEs to start, survive, and thrive. I mean, all of that really is just gearing us up to have a real focus on our current customers and future customers. Are you able to get the website up, Ben?
Yeah. Bear with you 2 seconds. So we have it now. It should be visible.
There you go.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, the big thing I think with the website, obviously with many businesses, the website is a bit of a hub, a bit of a repository, and we've been having a little bit of an overhaul recently, trying to make things a little bit simpler and easier for people to understand, because we understand things really well in terms of what we do here, but after recent surveys and conversations with some of our customers, some of them didn't even know what we did. And you know, they had a registered office or a virtual office here, and that was pretty much where the relationship started and ended. So we've tried to really sort of go into a degree of simplicity to try to cut through and make things easy for people to navigate. And the three main elements within the SME are packages, which are essentially the service offerings that we have, are places, which are serviced, our boardrooms, serviced offices, hot desking, or whether or not it's a registered or virtual office, and then through to our programs, which at the moment are fairly limited in terms of the ones that we're running, but we do have a very extensive list that we do over the course of a year. They range from anything like a real sort of inception or incubator type offering, through to accelerator programs and scale programs, as well as Pitch Perfect, which are all about smaller businesses working in quite tight-knit peer groups of other business owners, offering each other support, but obviously going through some really solid business acumen and learnings, key learnings in terms of approaches to how they can make their businesses more successful, whether or not it's around cash flow, whether it's around budgeting, whether it's around marketing, business model innovation. There's a whole host of different subject matter that's covered in our programs. If you just hover on the programs again, Ben, you can see a link in that area through to a business called Yola, which is our new experiential learning site, where we're offering 3 actual qualifications, which you will get a certified qualification from the Institute of Entrepreneurs and Enterprise, which is a fantastic thing to have. So these are fully blown modules which we've developed. They run over a course of 30 hours of blended self-learning and tutored instruction, with lots of resources, lots of information, and they're really fantastic. And this is a new launch activity for us, which we're getting off the ground. And at the moment, we are quarterly inviting selected people to come to a session which we're running on the 14th of June, which if you just scroll down a little bit, Ben, you can see that we're running a session there with Ammar, where he will be revealing the 3 secrets to ignite your business innovation power. So if you haven't already done so, please pop onto yola.com and do take a look at that, because the places will be filling up very quickly on that. That's on the 14th of June. If you just pop back to the SME now, Ben, it'd be great. By the way, Jalf, sorry, I don't want to ignore you there. If you've got any questions or things,
I'm just intrigued about everything. So you go ahead. You go ahead and keep on explaining what you've done.
So I was going to just dive into, and probably what you recognise, Jalf, as a really important aspect of what we do. You know, with your businesses as well. That the package area, Ben. If we just kind of go over to that, I'm not going to go through absolutely everything, but really trying to cut through and simplify things for our customers. And what we've noticed with a lot of research that we've done around marketing in general is that with small businesses, it can be difficult if you're not really an expert in this subject matter, to understand some of the terms and the words that people use when they're talking about different aspects of marketing. And we really want to try and keep that as simple and plain speaking English as possible, to make it easy for people to understand what we do, what we can provide, the help we can provide, and then obviously the sort of making it as simple to understand the return on the investment that they're making if they do decide to work with us on any projects. If we go into the website area, Ben, so just in terms of the website service offering that we have at the moment, we're really running our offering based around putting the website at the center of the marketing activities for a business. It's hugely important. It's a really good place. It's a really good live document, as opposed to a printed document that can be updated constantly. And the reason for putting the website at the center of the business, if you like, or at the marketing efforts, is that ultimately, in today's age, it's just hygiene now. Everybody is just expected to have a website. It doesn't necessarily need to be e-commerce or booking system or a software as a service type product that you've got as your website. If it's just a brochure website, it's hugely important, because it's the first thing that people do if they hear about your services or your products, or if they're trying to find the type of services or products that you offer. A web search is hugely important, and it's done all the time. So we understand it to be a really important part of the business makeup. As a business is getting started, having a web presence and an online presence is really key. If we just go down a little bit, Ben, and just kind of look at the different packages that we offer at the moment. So we've got 3 different packages, really cost effective in terms of the offer there. We go from everything like a really quick and easy one-page scrolling site, which you can get a lot of information into, and just something that's really key just to get you started. We can kind of pretty much get something like that running in 2 or 3 days for you, if you so choose. We offer other projects or other sizes of websites that are a little bit bigger, and they have some maintenance packaged in with them, in terms of we can do some changes on a monthly basis rolling for you as we go through things. We offer all the hosting and security and SSL certificates that you need as well, to get the little padlock on your URL, which shows that it's a secure site. And we really challenge ourselves to make our sites as easy to use and to navigate and as good looking as possible. If we just go down a little bit more, please, Ben, it'd be great. So alongside the websites, we think that it's really important to offer a degree of bolt-on extras, which all small businesses will potentially need at some point. And we recognize that everybody's at different stages. So some people may have a full-blown logo, brand identity and color palette and understand what they're doing. Some people don't have that. So we do offer a brand and logo design, which would include all of those elements, which we can bolt onto the website package. We can also look at setting up social media business pages. And that's something that we do quite regularly for our customers. We also, alongside that, in the bottom right hand corner, we do social media templates where we can set those up for people, so they've got 5 or 6 or 10 different templates that they can go out to market with on a regular basis, and they can actually update those themselves on the system that we set them up on. We can set people up on Google My Business. We can do website copywriting. I mean, quite often what we hear from people is that they just don't have the time to create the content. And that's really a key element that really, is a gain for a business owner. It really, really helps to get over that pain point of actually coming up with that content, because you're just too busy on the job doing the work that you need to do for your business. Again, we do a whole host of different digital and printed stationery. Whatever your needs may be from a collateral perspective, we can provide that type of product. And I think it's really key. I mean, it would be I'd like to ask you, Jalf, in terms of the services that we're offering, and obviously being a business owner, perhaps going back to when you were starting your businesses, how would you felt these services to have helped you?
I think, as you said right at the start, the fact that you've differentiated between the real big businesses, where their mindset and their approach is totally different, the budgets are totally different. I think the fact that you've looked at this on quite a micro level, and you've got the different options from the start of then growing and then scaling up, I think you've obviously thought through it very, very well. And I think that's probably because of the experience that you have as a group of setting up a number of different businesses over the years, and know the process that you go through. obviously the businesses that you work with, they're not going to know that process. So it's about guiding them and taking them through that journey. And I think you've got everything absolutely bang on. And it's a matter of showing these businesses that, yeah, you've got A, B, C, and D options, and which ones can you afford and which ones do you want to prioritize? Because they may not have actually looked at their business model holistically as you've laid out. So I think everything that you've shown is perfect for new starters, where they're effectively going into the unknown. They're not going to be the most experienced operators in the world, but they might have a great idea and they need that guidance, which is clearly what you're able to provide them. So I think it's brilliant the way that everything's set out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, Jalf. It's like, I know myself within the businesses that I've run that, I didn't know what I needed at the start. And I have to say that, perhaps there was a couple of times where I maybe made the wrong selection because people were just trying to sell me stuff, and I didn't actually need it at the time. So, I think it's really nice in terms of what you've said, by the way, in terms of getting to the point of laying these things out. But I kind of believe that, and I've spoken to a few of our customers and a few government agencies as well, in terms of people who are working in innovation and working with startup businesses, and like we do with our programs, and people identify their needs, and they seem to want to jump into a solution finding exercise. And I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that it's so hard for people to suggest the right people to work with, to get the right results. I don't know if you've experienced that, Jalf, in terms of some of the language that's used there. It just gets a bit complicated.
Yeah, I think at the start, you try and forge a partnership with people that you feel are going to add value to your business. Or the way that I look at it, I only want to work with people who are better than what I know. They're able to bring a level of expertise that I don't have, or my team don't have, because then you get value. Otherwise, we could do it ourselves. And if you feel like, oh, well, yeah, you've done this, I could have actually done this ourselves, you feel like you're paying for, you feel, I remember working with a digital agency just not too long ago, and they said, oh, we can do this, this, and this. But when they delivered, we were just flabbergasted. We were thinking, this is just so pro, we can do much better ourselves. That partnership didn't last very, very long. So that's the most critical thing, working with individuals where you feel they have your best interest at heart, but they can add value to your business model or your expertise or your know-how, and they kind of finalize and finish the job. And at the end of it, you think, oh my God, this is something that they've done that's brilliant, I haven't been able to do. In the past, we've had, PR groups and agencies and other people, designers and this, that, and the other, who really just take our own ideas that we've raised in meetings, and they've just kind of sent that back to us in a slightly gossy way. and that's when you feel that, you've got a long-term partnership, because in essence, you have not really added anything of value that we weren't capable of doing ourselves. So I think for me, that's what I look out for. And luckily for us, we've managed to build some really amazing relationships over the years, of people that blow our minds every single time we work with them, because they're just so creative and they do something. It's just so good. So I think that's the journey that small operators will go on. And from everything that you've laid out, it's very, very honest. It's all set out. It's covering a number of different dynamics that a young small business would kind of go on that journey. But they can pick and choose. Oh, I want this, and at least they can see you've laid everything out for them, which is really, really good, because they won't be able to see everything that's needed to create a fully encompassing business model. So the fact that you've laid everything out there, it's just brilliant.
So Ben, I was just going to bring you in on the social media side. I don't know if you want to just give us a quick tour of that. I think we've only got 2 or 3 minutes really remaining, but just a quick whistle stop tour of that would be good, Ben, if you want to just run through it.
Yeah, of course. So obviously going back to the point that I mentioned at the start, it really is for the smaller businesses. And the reason being, I mean, Dan, we talk about this a lot, but it's such a cliche pain point, but it's time. I mean, in any event in life, we all want more time. But I think it's even more so, true for those small business owners just getting started, especially when their skill set comes from the sector that they might have previously gone for. So typically a lot of the small businesses, they might have gone from being in a full-time employment job and then taking that skill set and deploying it as a business. And they, at the end of the day, just want to focus on doing that and delivering that aspect of the business. In social media can be such a time-consuming activity, and it's also a really difficult one at that. And the reason being is because a lot of businesses just struggle to identify why they're using social media in the first place. And I think part of that reason is just because, you know, it's one of the things now where, from a marketing point of view, every business owner seems to think of social media as the first port of call for marketing. And I think a lot of that is because of the fact that it's free. It's free to just post without taking into consideration, obviously, the time it takes to actually manage the social media pages. But what we bring to the table is helping the businesses understand why they're going onto those social media platforms, strategically picking each platform, and then also looking at how you're going to use it based on that why. So by bringing that expertise, you can start to get a lot more value and also connect with the audience in a better way. Because, you know, let's take, for example, in a really sort of basic manner, but a B2B business is going to operate social media a lot different to that of a B2C business. The channels in which they select will be a lot different, and the way in which they approach their audience is going to be a lot different. But essentially, the bottom line is how time consuming social media can become as an activity, and then just taking that on board for them so they don't have to worry about it. They can focus on growing the business and doing what they do best. So we've got a number of packages there available to meet the different sizes of businesses. So whether they're at different stages in their life cycle, we've got packages for those just getting started, and then we've got packages at the complete other end of the spectrum where they're actually looking to scale through the use of social media. So if that is something that anyone is looking to, I mean, just reach out to have a chat, because as I say, what we bring to the table is helping you understand that why in an initial conversation without even sort of having to spend money with any agency or company. We're happy to just have that chat and help people understand, because what we're trying to do here is remove all of the jargon and the complication from the marketing to make it as simple as possible so that everyone understands it. There's no sort of blur in the offer. It's all straightforward and everyone can understand it.
That's great, Ben. Thanks for that. Jalf, do you have people running your social media for you?
We do it internally. So yeah. We have Ola, who's been with us for a number of years. But she manages to look after that. But we have we do it internally. I think for us, the importance of social media, as you said right at the start, when it's just so critical these days, because it's brilliant in that it doesn't cost a great amount of money. It's what everyone uses, and you can gear away from those conventional mediums such as advertising in magazines and this, that, and the other, and would charge you £600 for a half a page, £1,000 for a full page, and never really they ever gave you a huge amount of value. So social media, whether it's Insta or whether it's Facebook or Twitter and whatever other areas are out there, whether it's optimization on Google and this, that, and the other, I think it is so critical. I mean, we launched the new restaurant, and it was all down to the work we did on social media, and namely, it was just Instagram, which was critical in launching that business, and that's the only thing that we really focused on, because when we were getting feedback from diners and asking them, how did you find out about it? And they were all coming up with, social media, Insta. And we thought that, that's it's brilliant for us, because it just saved us so much money, We didn't really have to do much, just make sure that the product quality was good and everything else just worked itself.
That's really good. It's great, Jalf. I mean, you're just re-emphasizing, as a business owner yourself, in terms of how important it is to just keep on getting your messaging out and telling your brand story.
And it's just the guidance that you can give them as an experienced operator, which is critical. So it's not. It does need a professional to look at it, and a professional to look at it strategically and have a plan for it. You can't just go on the hoof and put images that you feel are correct. It needs to be in line with a wider strategy, which obviously you would lay out first, and then you would guide your clients on how to kind of when to do what and what language to use and this, that, and the other. So again, anyone that's new in the game, you would get so much enhancement to your business modeling by using an experienced operator like yourselves, because you're going to do all that, give all that expertise and create that map for them, that journey that they need to go on, and it'll be done strategically in the correct way, which is the way to go. I think we're probably going to get cut off literally in any second because it's 11 o'clock.
No problem. Well, thank you very much for your time, Jalf, this morning. Pleasure speaking with you.
Really, it was really informative. Thank you very much.
7 days a week.
Have a lovely weekend,
Take
guys.
care. You too.
Bye-bye.
Rishi Sunak has refused to rule out further emergency cost of living packages next year, despite alarm among some Tories at the impact on the public finances of